Hi, I'm Gab from OneCodeCamp, and in this video, we'll be talking about arrays, how we can create an array, add an element, remove an element, and even iterate through the array. And for that, let's open your favorite code editor and let's get started with our discussion. So to start our discussion, let's first define what an array is. So arrays are a fundamental data structure in JavaScript that allows us to store multiple values in a single variable. And it also provides a way for us to conveniently organize and manipulate a collection or a set of data. So for us to better understand what arrays are, let's dive straight into creating some arrays. First, let's create a new file. And this will be my index.html. I'll just put up an HTML boilerplate and then add a script tag here later. And then let's create another file. And this will be my app.js. And let's connect that app.js to our HTML file by putting up a script tag here. And the source will be the file name of our JavaScript. And there you go. To check the connection of our JavaScript file and our HTML file, let's try printing out something on the console. So that's console.log. And let's print out hello coders. So let's save that and go to our index.html file. Just right click and select open with live server. There you go. It should open up an empty browser right here. And let me put that at the side of my screen. And in our browser, let's right click, click on inspect, and let's go to console. And there it is. There is our string that was printed. So we successfully connected our app.js and HTML file. So let's try creating an array. As we've mentioned earlier, arrays are just a collection of values inside one variable. So let me put a comment here, creating arrays. And let's create the variable. Let's say we want a collection of our favorite fruits. So let me just say fruits. And the syntax when we are declaring arrays is a bracket right here. For example, in this set of arrays, we want to store a set of strings, but we're not limited to storing a set of strings. We can store a set of numbers, a set of integers, or a set of characters here. For now, I'll use strings. So that's apple, and maybe a banana, an orange. There we go. And let's make sure that our syntax is right. So for string, that should be in quotations. And another fruit, which is a mango. And for now, I'll close my file explorer there. And let's see what this will look like in our console. So let me console.log and then print out these fruits. And I'll save that. And here it is in our console. We're seeing a set of values here. It's printing out the apple, banana, and orange, but notice that it is inside that bracket, meaning it is in one variable, and in here the number that we see is the number of elements inside our array. Alright, so now that we can see what our array looks like, let's see the inside of that. We can see that there are these numbers right here on the left of the values, and those are what we call the index of our array elements, and that is how we can access our elements one by one. Let me demonstrate that and put up a note here. Accessing elements. There we go. And let's try printing out each individual element. So that's console.log. And then first we get the name of the array. So that's fruits. And then we use the index number. And take note that the indexing of elements in an array starts with 0. So if it's index 1, that will be banana. If you want to get the first element, that will be index 0. Right there. Let's try printing out the others too. Let me copy and paste that here at the bottom. And let me just change this indices right here to N3. And there we go. We were able to print out all of the contents of our array one by one. Now that we were able to print them, you might be wondering, is there a way for us to maybe change each individual elements inside an array? And the answer for that will be yes. We can modify each individual element. Let me put up another note here, modifying elements. Here we go. And to modify the elements, it's actually very simple. You just get the element that you want to modify. Let's say I want to modify that banana element there. So we get its index, so that will be index 1. And we just give it the new value that we want it to have. Let's say we want it to be maybe a grape instead. And then let's try printing that out. You can see that it's still not changing here because we did the modification after we've printed it out. So let's try printing it again here. So let's print it out after we've modified it. And there we go. We can see that fruits index 1 now has a value of grape. Now let's see if we can add some more values here inside our array. To add some new elements in our array, we have a built-in array method called push. So let's get the array first, and that will be push. And inside it should be parentheses. There we go. And we give it an argument of whatever value we want it to contain. Let's say we want this one to be strawberry. And let's try printing the entire elements. That will be this one right here. And let me put some annotations or some notes here. In fact, let's use some template literals. So inside backticks, and this will be modified array colon, and put this in some inside a $sign and inside some curly braces. And there we go. There's our modified array: apple, grape, orange, mango, and the strawberry at the very last element. And it was printed out as a string because we used template literals here. Now let's try removing some elements. Maybe let me put a note here. This is adding a new element, and then below that will be removing the last element. And just like adding, we also have a built-in method for that. So let's get the array, and the method for that will be pop. And what we'll do is it will remove the very last element inside our array. So let me print it like this instead. And maybe add some strings. Let's say this is the new array. Space. And there is our new array. It has the elements apple, grape, orange, and mango. Because now we removed the strawberry at the bottom. It is back to having just 4 elements. Next on the topic of arrays is array iteration. And array iteration is just going through inside that array repetitively. So we're gonna get this in one iteration, and then this one in the next, and then this, and then lastly that last element. So let me scroll up a bit and put up a note here. We have ways to iterate through an array, and one of them is iteration through the use of a for loop. So let's say here array iteration using for loop. There we go. And let's create a new array. Maybe we want some numbers this time. And for that, my numbers I'll just type some random numbers on my keyboard. So let's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And an important note for making an array is make sure that each element is separated by a comma. So 3, 4 will be treated differently than 3, 4, 5, because that will be 34 and 5. And this one will be 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. So that's the comma is very important. And now let's declare a for loop. Let's say for let I equals 0, meaning that we'll use that value for our index, and I less than numbers dot length, and it got me this shortcut right here. Let me just remove that and just type in numbers. There we go. Numbers dot length. So the dot length is built in also in array, and it's a property of an array. So these are some characteristics of an array. So we have this length, and we have indices for some example, and we can also ask if an array contains a certain element, and we'll be discussing more of that later on. And of course, an increment in our index, so that's I++. Whoopsie. There we go. So that's I++. And let's print out these elements. So that's console.log. And let me put number here, number, and then my array element. So that's number, and then the index. And for that, we'll use I, because I is increasing every time we run through the loop. So let's do that. And now that it ran the loop, we can see that it's printing out each individual array every time we run the loop. So we have number 3, number 4, 5, 6, and 7. And this is very useful. Right now, we're just printing them out. But what if we want to do some mathematical operations for them? Let's say we want to print out a different thing. We want this to be added to 10. And 10. Here we go. So now, instead of typing 3 plus 10 and then console logging that one, we can just iterate through the loop and then do the mathematical operation just once. We're just going to declare it once, and then the looping will do the repetition for us. Another way to iterate through an array is through the use of the for each method. Let me put another note here. That will be array iteration with for each method. There we go. So let's declare another array. That will be lep, and this one will be colors. Let's define the values here. Make sure that it's these brackets right here, not the curly ones that I just put. This one will be red, so primary colors, and this one will be blue, and another maybe yellow, if I spelled it correctly. There we go. Now we have our array, and to use for each, let's get our array and then call the for each method, and this for each method will accept a function parameter. So right now we don't have a predefined function, so let's create just an anonymous function, and it will accept the color in each individual color in our array. And let's say let's console log our colors and just print out the color here. There we go. So what for each that is it's a built-in method for our arrays, and for each runs this function for every element inside this array. So when on the first iteration it has it's going to perform this function that we declared, this anonymous function that we declared on this red element, and the only action that we wanted to do is just print that out in our console, and we see that here. And then on the next iteration, it will have this blue argument right here, replacing this parameter here, and again performing the function. Then for the next iteration, it will perform that function for this last element. Alright, so let's have a recap of what we've discussed so far regarding arrays by having an example. So let's create another array here. So this will be my daily task, let's say. That's just task. And one of my daily tasks will be eating, of course. There we go. Sleeping. And maybe cleaning if I want to. There we go. And now we have created our new array. And let's try to print that out. My daily task. And there is the array my daily task here in our console. So let me click on this array right here, and those are the elements of my array, and you can also see the length here, so that's 3. And now let's try adding a new element in that array right here by using this push method. So that will be my daily task dot push, and maybe this next task will be shower. There we go. And let's log this too, but let's put a note here. This will be oopsie, new set of tasks, there we go. And now we have this new set of tasks, and it has 4 elements inside it, which has this new element shower that we added, and it's placed there at the end of this array. Now let's try removing that last element that we added. Let's say I was done showering, so that's my daily task, that pop. There's no need for an argument there. And let's just copy this printing command. There we go. This will be my new, maybe let's add another new here, new set of tasks. There we go. And they'll be eating, sleeping, and cleaning, and we're back to having an array of length 3. And let's try iterating through our array again using a for each method right here. So that'll be my daily tasks dot for each, and let's declare another anonymous function. That will be function, and let's just put a task here, and let's say, let me fix this spacing right here. Let's just print it out, console.log, and my daily task, and then just print out task right there. And there we go, we've printed out our daily task here. And that is how you create and modify the elements inside an array and even iterate through the elements of an array. Thank you so much for listening to our discussion, and we hope to see you on our next video.